I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. All I can tell you is it probably hurts me more than it hurts you. It absolutely does hurt me more than it hurts you. It's no changed your life. The fact that you've seen there's no Fat Ek preview pod for a big European game. It was. I did post it on Wednesday night, but it was actually just into the very early hours of Thursday morning, and it was 2 hours long, and I'm so depressed that it's so deflating. I keep telling myself I'm not going to do that to you. You deserve. We've got a nice wee community here, and you deserve much better than that. Who's going to have time to watch a 2 hour preview pod on the day of the game? It doesn't go live. It doesn't go up on the my YouTube channel until it was basically by the time it's navigable. By the time it's able, you could go onto it and you could go through the different sections. I've time stamped it so you can go in and pick and choose even. But it was like 2:30 in the morning before I'd done all the admin and got an AI thumbnail up there that made some sort of sense. And then even the AI thumbnail I got, and I'm probably going to use it again for this one. I wanted the League Cup and the Conference League trophy, and I talked in the pod about I done a whole thing about the two bases. There's no two bases at the bottom of the League Cup because League Cup trophy was at Ibrox on Sunday. I saw that when I watched the coverage back in Premier Sports, and it's looking like the Copa Libertadores, the Stanley Cup, and the Copa America, where they got the extra bases on the bottom to get the names of all the winners on it, because it's an older trophy now, and I was thinking that was quite cool, and it also led to this wee analogy about how, it looks like maybe Derek McInnes was just going down deeper to build a solid base, a bigger base, because for Rangers, foundation type thing for Rangers to get better. That's why it took 5 games for us to win a game. It's all this kind of stuff. And then the AI, it threw it the best it can manage is a picture of the League Cup with just the one base under the trophy. And I'm thinking, it's a bit, if I hadn't even mentioned that so specifically, but I've not got time to do another one now, so that'll be the one you've just seen if you've even bothered with this. But I cannot tell you what it's like to spend the whole week, or Monday through Wednesday, bursting to talk not just about Rangers finally winning a game this season, and it's a 5-1 win, and there's folk are still slagging it. So you've got points you really want to make, as well as just thoroughly enjoying the fact you've got a win to talk about, and there's transfers, and you're drawing Celtic in the Cup again, and then it's the Conference League. A lot of Rangers supporters turn their nose up at it. We're too good for this stuff. What's the point of? It's not the Europa League. What's the point of even turning up? The Mickey Mouse teams in the Mickey Mouse tournament. And I'm no. I'm like, when it comes to European football stuff, so I'm really enthusiastic about telling you why this is a great opportunity. It's history to go to the first Conference League game that Rangers have ever played in, and you can be there if you go to Ibrox, and you can see history in the making. Let's talk about other times it was history in the making. These Rangers' first times in tournaments, or new formats, or new editions of various tournaments, and I just burst into go, and it ends up. That's why I talk for 2 hours. I've got to wait for the manager's presser, haven't I? I've got to incorporate the manager's pre-match presser, and that's the day before the game. But it was like lunchtime yesterday that Dell, James Penrice, it's Dell, it's official. That's where he gets nicknamed. And it was lunchtime, so it was probably about 2:30. It was up on YouTube on Rangers TV channel on YouTube. I had plenty of time to get it done. I just had a few more things to do. So it's tea time for I start doing the pot, and then I just want to double check that a few kind of rank turns, and I'm not, and it was like 8-9 o'clock before I started recording. Then it's done by the back of 11, and it's not really up on the YouTube channel till after midnight. And then by the time I've broken it up into little bits to make it navigable, it's like 2 in the morning. I'm just looking at it going, I can't keep doing this to folk. I can't keep doing this to folk. I've not got a problem. As you know, I actually have a problem cutting my podcast down to under an hour. I can talk forever about Rangers, especially, about football in general, but I don't have a problem with that. But I've got to give you a chance to watch it when it's relevant. Still relevant to what happened on Sunday. It's got to be relevant to the previous game and the next game, basically. These are the pods that I do that aren't just post-match reactions. I really need to do a separate one. I need to do it. Probably on Tuesday, I should have done just all the fallout from the St Mirren game and the cup draw and stuff like that, and then a whole separate pod on it. But that's asking you, previewing the Jablonec game and focusing on the European stuff. But that's asking you to watch 2 1-hour pods in consecutive days. It's too much. I should be able to edit this. I need to start writing stuff again because I'm writing. My pods are listening to the right. It's like every detail I can possibly think of is getting poured into that when it should be. And I'm thinking, what's the point? What's the point? And even there was 136 views at the point at 2:30 in the morning when I thought I can't do this anymore. I'm so depressed. I'm deleting it. There was actually a great post from the Trying Scotsman. The Trying Scotsman, who is nice enough to patronise these pods of mine, and he was saying how he pointed it was like Debbie Does Dallas or something. He said, if I just it's a porn movie, have you? I've never actually seen it. I'm not trying to say I've not seen it. I'm just saying I've never. It's just this kind of stuff you get into when you're just. Are you doing something? I think it's just chicken you're supposed to be eating at that point in the pod when you're talking about this. And I was talking about heat. I was talking about the scene where Diane Venora, and Heat's on the night, it's on film 4, 9 o'clock. I did a whole big thing about Heat being on the telly tonight. You should watch it, you should record it. Anyway, Heat's on the telly. And I did a whole thing about how Diane Venora get terrible dialogue. Michael Mann, the director of Heat, he can't write dialogue for women. But Diane Venora deserves 5 Oscars for playing Justine in Heat and managing to make believable the line, every time I try to maintain a consistent mood between us, you withdraw. It's a domestic. There's having an argument with her husband, who of course is Al Pacino, or sorry, is Vincent Hanna, played by Al Pacino, because he's a detective who's so committed to his work it's interfering with his personal life. It's really original stuff. No wonder I love that movie so much. But at this point, when she's doing that, he comes out with the line, I've got 3 dead bodies on a sidewalk off Venice Boulevard. Justine, I'm sorry if the goddamn chicken got overcooked. And he's doing a whole thing with the chicken. There's a chicken wings. She's made chicken and it got a bit burnt because he didn't turn up in time for dinner because of his work. And he picks up the chicken, and he also does his thing. Al Pacino famous for hand acting. He's doing a whole thing with remote control. He's famous hand acting. He's got a remote control for his telly in this scene, and he's fanning about with that, and he's pouring himself a drink and stuff. So he's going OTT with the hand actions, and he picks up the chicken drumstick, and he kind of throws it back into the bowl or whatever. And I'm like, the point I was making, just being self-deprecating, like most fat folk, I absolutely love chicken. I love roast chicken, so I was saying how, if she'd tell me there was chicken, if I wasn't the Vincent Hanna character, I would be binning my work and rushing home to get the chicken on time, and then trying to mock myself as a fat guzzler of chicken. What was trying to emotion was me throwing the chicken into my mouth. With 2 hands, just getting as many chicken drumsticks and chicken wings into my face as possible. But because I'm holding on to this mic, I'm only using one hand. It ended up developing into a kind of, type motion. Maybe it's no McDonald's, it's no Filet-O-Fish, but more KFC. But I was definitely filleting a cockerel. Leg or something like that, a bit of chicken there, and it was quite. And Trying Scotsman was making a wee joke about that, and I think that's great. And I went back to that point in the video, and I thought that is quite funny. Maybe I should just leave that in because that'd be a good look. But I thought, no, I don't want to be sensationalist. I want it to be the football content. It's what folk are coming here for, even just my chat about the fit. But that's quite funny. But then, as I watched it back a second later, I'm mimicking Al Pacino. Nobody can mimic Al Pacino. I was trying to quote one of his lines. The shape charge indicates that they are technically proficient. Now, the robbers have blown a big hole in the back of the security truck. The shape charge indicates that they are technically proficient, and I say technically efficient. I call myself a fan of Heat. I can never remember if it's Venice Beach or Venice Boulevard either, so I might have got that wrong as well today. And I just thought, that's it? No, it's gone. It's done. It's got to go. And that just pushed me over the edge. It's got to go. And I deleted a 2-hour podcast. I'm so sorry, folks. And here it's lunchtime a day of the game, and I'm asking you to. And I got up this morning, I'm totally depressed, and I'm thinking I've failed to get anything out there at all. I shouldn't have deleted it. I should just leave it up there. But I just didn't like it at all. I kind of keep asking folk, but now I've not got anything up there at all, and I can't. The idea of just going and doing a half-hour pod, just basically going through the team that I want and what the manager said at his presser, and not giving it any life, not giving it any kind of. I'm just another Rangers fan sharing. That's the whole thing with me. It's all reaction. It's so not giving you a bit of what I'm actually thinking about stuff and how I'm thinking about stuff. I thought that depresses the hell out of me. What's the point? And I found myself going, what's the point? What's the point? I've done it again. I am Rangers. Rangers just lead me by the nose. The general feeling around the Conference League is we crashed out and we fucked up in the one that's acceptable, the Europa League. Now, you want to be in the Champions League, and Celtic are doing that. They're going to be in the Champions League group stage this season. That's a major blow, so we really don't want to think about that. And then the Europa League, that's their tournament, and we didn't, just last Thursday we get knocked out of that. What is the point? We've only got the Conference League. I'm wanting the Champions League of, I got a 1 hour podcast incorporating the St Mirren stuff and a preview of the European game, and it's up there like tea time at the latest before the game, more than 24 hours before the game, and it gives you a chance to watch it really. That's Champions League level. I got a 2 hour podcast up there that went out at like 2:30 in the morning, which is far too long, and it's not giving you a chance to watch any of it. But I had time stamped it, and you could go in and pick and choose a wee bits that you did want to maybe listen to. That's Europa League. Because I failed at that as well. I knocked that out myself. I knocked it out and then I knocked it up. Because failed at that, I'm left with the final option, which is probably going to be a 3 hour podcast on the day of the game, which I'll get posted an hour before kickoff. That's Conference League. So get it done. I don't want Rangers looking down their nose at the Conference League. I want Rangers to give the Conference League their full attention, because there's major history. There's a long-term story, should I say. I'm struggling. I'm so tired. There's a it's a longer narrative here. It's not about the immediate. Just get this done. Never mind feeling sorry for yourself. So that's what I'm doing, folks. I'm sorry if this is track. This is Conference League you're getting now. It's no as glamorous. It's even more useless than usual. It's a mile away from the Champions League of having pods out there bang on time and just nice and snappy. And we're going to try and do our best, because this is your fat egg. Rangers were put out of the European Cup. For the last time we ever played in the European, it's the Champions League is the European Cup. It's just a continuation of the same thing, but it was quite a major rebranding, a reformatting of the tournament when it became the Champions League. So the last time Rangers ever played in the European Champion Clubs Cup, we were eliminated by a Czech club, Sparta Prague, a Czech club that put us out, and that was the first time in 1991-92 season that Rangers failed to qualify for a group stage. Because that, even though it was still the European Cup, it was still the European Champion Clubs Cup, UEFA were dry running the Champions League format for the following season. So Sparta Prague ended up in the group stage, the first ever group stage. Not the first ever group stage in European competition. They had group stage in the early stages of the Fairs Cup, and I'll maybe talk about that later on, because it's that exciting kind of pod. It's a very me sort of podcast, and you're playing a European tournament for the very first time. But Rangers weren't involved in the Fairs Cup until 67-68. So we missed all that out. This was the first time Rangers had failed to qualify for a group stage, and it was a Czech club that put us out. And tonight we're playing in the Conference League, our first ever match. It was our last ever match in the European Cup, as was, and this is our first ever match in the Conference League. And this is our latest attempt to get into a group stage. And if we, it's a Czech club. It's another Czech club that we're playing. And maybe if we get into, we never won the European Cup, so maybe if we get into this, we'll win the Conference League. I don't really know what I'm trying to say. Preview pod, Jablonec Ibrox preview pod, and also the League Cup trophy was Ibrox on Sunday, and it was in the black and gold Premier Sports livery, and it's got two bases on it now. It looks like it's looking more like the Stanley Cup, the NHL and the Stanley Cup, and the Copa Libertadores and the Copa America, and that's because Derek McInnes he's got a base. He's building a base under what Rangers are doing. St Mirren. I mean, it's pinstripe. We're wearing pinstripe strip that I've been slagging. It's a retro from what we wore for 2 seasons. 1982 through to 1984, and we're wearing a retro version of that kit. But wearing that kit, we twice got to the League Cup. It was Old Firm League Cup finals. We played Celtic in the League Cup both seasons that we had that kit. We lost one and we won one, and the final that we won, wearing that retro. Well, it wasn't retro then. It was the original pinstripe kit. Ali McCoy scored a hat-trick against Celtic at Hampden. So, I think Lawrence Shankland is... I think Big Naderi is a dead ringer for Sandy Clark. It's going to work because Shankland's going to get a hat-trick against Celtic at Ibrox in the League Cup this time. St Mirren at Ibrox on Sunday. Debrief pod coming to you in association with GERSnet. Check out GERSnet, the last GERSnet podcast. It was Stewart and John reviewing the 5 goals. And the 1 goal conceded on Sunday against St Mirren. I'm sponsored by that. I'm also sponsored by major events in European history. Waterloo, it was like 6:15 at night, 18:15. Waterloo, Bannockburn, that was lunchtime as well. That was just about a quarter of an hour into your lunch break. Old Bannockburn in 1314. 100 Years' War. It was just... Famously, the 100 Years' War did not last precisely 100 years. It went from 1337 to 1453, so it's basically just over an hour and 10 minutes. The medieval folk, they really know. The medieval types, they really did exaggerate stuff. And if you want to get Rome, if you want to sack Rome at all, if you want to beat the Romans in their own place, at their own game, the Visigoths and the Vandals, they'll tell you the best time to get them is just before the sun comes up, just before breakfast time. Get them just before 5 in the morning, because they'll be up all night and a bacchanal with the Romans. You know what they're like, so self-indulgent. And that's the fall of Rome they got in there. But I want to talk to you, great moments in European history. 1945, the year 1945, end of the Second World War, the year Jablonec, FK Jablonec, that's their 10th name that they've had since 1945, were formed. Jablonec were formed, and that's who we're playing at 1945 hours tonight, Thursday the 20th of August 2026, in Rangers' first ever match in the Conference League. Rangers playing in a distinctly fourth European competition. We went 22 years, there was only 2 European competitions, from the last Cup Winners' Cup final in 1999 through to the start of the Conference League in 2021-2022 season. Its first edition there, and Rangers have, the Fairs Cup is the UEFA Cup, is the Europa League, the European Champion Clubs Cup is the Champions League. That's just 2 tournaments. The Cup Winners' Cup, fairly kind of stayed, just basically has been the Cup Winners' Cup. But no, once we stop with the Cup Winners' Cup, we've got I was at the last ever match in the Cup Winners' Cup. I was at the final Villa Park when Lazio beat Mallorca in the 19th of May 1999, and I wasn't at the first. The Conference League's been going. This is its 6th season, and I've not seen any. This is my first ever Conference League match. We've got a personal European history for somebody like me that kind of cares about that kind of stuff, but at least I get to see Rangers' first ever match in the Conference League when I go to the game tonight, if I don't have a heart attack, try to get this pod out in time before that. It's great. Rangers have been in 4 different... It's quite a thing, 4 different... we know the first Scottish Cup. Celtic have already played in the Conference League, another European first for them. But Celtic, when they go to the Conference League under Ange Postecoglou, and they get put out the Conference League playoff by Bodo Glimt. A great team, Bodo Glimt. Celtic fans were telling us that at the time. They're actually a good team. Very good. You get beat by somebody who's ever heard of. But that was because Celtic in Ange Postecoglou's first season went from Champions League qualifiers, and they dropped out into the Europa League qualifiers, and then before they'd been through all 3 European competitions before the group stage of any of them, and they get put out. But in the Europa League stage of that, the qualifying nightmare that Celtic were having in Ange Postecoglou's first season, they played Jablonec. I think they beat them. They beat Jablonec. It's the same team, so Rangers go in there and it's the same. I think that's quite good. Chelsea have won all 4, and what a great season Ange has domestically. It's pretty much what we've decided we want to happen for Derek McInnes, isn't it? So a few Rangers fans will actually probably be happier if we get beat tonight by Jablonec. Sure, but we go out over the 2 legs, because then we can concentrate entirely on the domestic stuff. I'm not into that idea at all. I want European football. It's Ibrox and Chelsea. Chelsea fans going into Sky Sports News this morning, they're writing in or texting in saying it's actually good that we're not in Europe this season, Chelsea, because that means we can concentrate on challenging for the Premier League title again in England. Chelsea, they've won all 4 European competitions. They've won the Cup Winners' Cup, the Champions League, the Europa League a couple of times in the Europa League iteration of that particular tournament, and of course they won the Conference League in 2024, pumping Betis despite being 1-0 down at half time in the final in Wrocław. So Rangers just playing in a fourth European tournament ever isn't quite the same as Chelsea have won all four of them. But the money they've got in England, it's a big moment. It's a big moment. So it is. But I'm sponsored by big moments in European history. My name's Alec Anderson, kind of strongbow. I'm a mess, desperately clutching on to a leaflet on depression supplied to me by the NHS. It's anyone's guess how I got here. It's anyone's guess how I'll go. Pull your jeans up, suck on a roll up, go that ring way around, fuck off. Jobs. The point is I'm going to go Jablonec instead of job seeker, Jablonec. It worked better in the original version. I don't think it really did, but I'll tell myself that anyway. Jablonec. It scans. It just. My name's Alec Anderson, the Zach Polanski of Rangers Podding. My views aren't actually that extreme. It's just the mainstream Rangers Podding community that makes my views seem extreme in comparison. But if one swallow makes a summer, then I think the swallows are probably going to die about 12 minutes after we all die. The way the summers are going, the eternal summers, the planet is just burning, isn't it? It's absolutely burning. That's been said. Nice way to explode into life. Rangers. Derek McInnes's Rangers finally getting a win at the fifth attempt. All those goals, so many from open play, blew away the cobwebs and a lot of the negative stats. So let's continue with that in that kind of vein by winning a European game and keeping a clean sheet as we enjoy a period of 4 straight games not in the SPFL Premiership. Europa League last Thursday against Jagiellonia, League Cup on Sunday against St Mirren, and now we've got 2. We're not playing at the weekends. We've postponed, taking the opportunity to postpone our league game, and we've got 2 successive games against Jablonec. It's going to be Aberdeen at Pittodrie before we play a league game again. Snagging items, Vanya Dragicevic, I kept calling him Vanya Dragicevic. That's not how you pronounce it. It's pronounced Vanya Dragojevic. Uncle Vanya Beauty. And also I kept talking about Chekhov's rifle, Chekhov's gun, that kind of in plays and stuff like that. The tradition, the thing that if there's a rifle up, it's a seagull. Constantine shoots himself at the end of Chekhov's a seagull, but Chekhov also wrote Uncle Vanya, and I was talking about that on Sunday, trying to be a smart arse, my post-match reaction pod, I forgot to mention the fact that Dragojevic rifled the ball into top corner. His goal wearing 22, but I'm not a full-back. Don't let that confuse you. I'm not a right-back. So for the previous Sunday, he's geared away penalties at right-back. The next Sunday, he's been played in his natural position in midfield. And it was actually quite a delicate goal as well. It was a lot of art involved in that goal. Takes it beautifully on the chest. He's teed itself up for it. And it's a lovely volley. But, people see the power and the range of the shot as well. But the accuracy is the main thing. But he rifled it. He almost literally rifled it. Plus, he's orthodox, Serbian orthodox. It's not an orthodox goal that he scored there. The stuff I shoved in there. This is snagging items. This is the things I got wrong in the podcast. The last one I did before this, one I did on Sunday after the game. It was not, as I was saying, a 4-2-3-1 Rangers played on Sunday. It was a 4-3-3. The manager himself, Derek McInnes, confirmed that in yesterday's pre-match presser. Well, that's crucial in my understanding of why we were so much better on Sunday. It was Chukwani was more advanced. He definitely was more advanced. It could almost have been a 4-2-3-1, and I thought he was going to the Asgard role. He was playing like a 10. I thought he's just playing more advanced than Niko Raskin and Dragojevic. But it was a 4-3-3 we're playing, and that's crucial in my understanding of how we actually won the game on Sunday. Naderi wasn't on his own up front. He was playing on a level with the 2 wide men, so that's worked better. I thought it was the reason we won 5-1 on Sunday was because we signed James Penrice. He was a guy who proved that the 49ers' kind of staunch policy, McInnes, Shanklin, Devlin, getting guys who were brought up as Rangers supporters, was not in fact basically retrograde or even myopic. It wasn't. It was just that we hadn't actually signed enough blue noses. We hadn't prosecuted that policy vigorously enough. We needed to sign more Rangers supporters, and James Penrice, another blue nose coming in there, he gets an assist and a goal into the Copeland Road on his debut. Does it get more staunch than that? It's just he'd pushed us over, helped buy more Blue Noses, get more Rangers fans in there and the staff and in the team, because he'd got us to critical mass. We'd achieved critical mass. Did I say mass? I Catholic thing. We're supposed to be Protestant. That's why that's funny. But no, it turns out it was just going to a 4-3-3 that was actually the reason. So, less space for us to kind of lose the ball in midfield, which in turn allowed us to arrive in the opposition as a 3, the opposition box as a 3 up front. Holy Mary, Mother of God. I'm kind of pure mental, man. I'm pure mental. My podcasts are absolutely crazy, but it is all, in fact, an act when it comes to Rangers, because as emotionally incontinent as I may be in life in general and around Rangers in particular, what I actually think, the principles that guide my opinions and what's best for the club I love the most is mind-numbingly sensible. I'm loath to sack. I'm quick to back, and I'd always rather feel the love than the hate for football in general, but Rangers in particular. And that does not good copy make. Podding and Fitba media in general is all about sensationalism, and once everybody demands binary, polarised and polarising black and white opinions delivered with a certitude that leaves you wondering why these podcasters and why these pundits are even bothering to podcast or pundit, because they must make a fortune at the bookies and gambling on the Fitba, betting on the Fitba, because they know everything inside out. So all I can really do when I go about, I like doubt. I trust doubt. I like weighing up both sides. But anybody who's too certain always makes me feel a bit uneasy. So all I can do really to make up for this lack of sensationalism in my podcasts is front up my other emotions, as a sop to the adrenaline and rancour that you crave from your podcasting hits. So while I felt us losing to St Mirren on Sunday would necessitate a statement from the board, backing or sacking the manager. B, I did not come away from Ibrox on Sunday feeling like McInnes had just saved his own neck, or he would get to last for one game longer. He's delayed the inevitable. It was nothing like that. It felt more like, there we go. We're waiting for that to kick in. There's signs. There's all the signs we needed that he kind of knows what he's doing. It's just fallen into place now. I felt like that, and so did everybody else, despite the kind of doom mongering last Thursday. I mean, I felt terrible last Thursday going out the Europa League. It was horrendous. It was absolutely awful. It's a real kick to the nads. But even then, you're saying this could be, benefited Hearts last season, not being in Europe at all. For us, we get more resources than Hearts. It could benefit us to be in the lesser of the 3 European competitions. It won with only 6 group games as opposed to 8. But it was a downer. But nobody was. There was nobody walking about Ibrox at full time on Sunday or in the environs of Ibrox kind of shouting, "Oh, he's hanging on, and he's hanging on." Oh, God, I wish we just lost that game so we get rid of him. You get folk who actually get angry when a manager they don't like makes their own team win, because they want rid of that manager sooner. They're going to the game to watch one of their own being executed. So, no, there was nothing like that. I don't think anybody really believed Derek McInnes was going to get sacked even if we'd lost to St Mirren. And what that actually is just a buy-in that's been there from the word go. Now, there might be a few dodgy reasons. Oh, he's more staunch and all that kind of thing. The reasoning might not always be sound, but there's no getting away from it. I've been struggling with the Derek McInnes thing because I'm struggling with how many new managers we're getting. I'm struggling with new manager, new project fatigue, because this is our third manager in a year, and it's getting ridiculous. And I try to invest in all of them. I try to feel good about it. I try to see what the positives and what they're trying to do, and they just continually leave me drinking rosé wine as I sit in the carpet listening to Elkie Brooks. And I think, why has he left? Why has he left me again? What's going on here? But Derek McInnes, it's never really. I've found it difficult because it's so natural. It's felt like he was always going to be Rangers manager, without being too Chandler Bing about it. He's always going to be Rangers manager at one point or another. And of course, he's a Rangers man because he's a Rangers supporter, West of Scotland, and he played for the club for a wee while. And seeing him at the touchline at Ibrox is the most natural thing in the world. But seeing him in the Rangers blazer, in the Rangers technical area, I'm still kind of looking at it going, that's Derek McInnes. That's Derek McInnes. Derek McInnes is the manager of a football team involved in a Rangers, involved in a match involving Rangers, but he's the Rangers. He's our manager. It's weird. Anytime he's been a manager, it's been against us. But there's a buy-in. There's just a huge. It's a lovely thing after everything we went through last season. In particular, this time last season, it's a lovely thing just to know that everybody's kind of going, aye, maybe this is how it's supposed to work. We start poorly. I'm a bit bitter. I've been bitter because of the patience that's given to Derek McInnes that was not given to other managers, let's just say. And talking of which, but that doesn't mean to say I am not behind Derek McInnes. Sky Sports News, early hours of Sunday morning, yeah, it's Saturday night and all that. And you just drifting past midnight, I'd flick it over a wee bit of Sky Sports News, and there's highlights of Russell Martin starting the new season, his first league game in charge of his new club, all in blue, and they're newly demoted, and he's going to, in the first day of the season, the home of a club that's newly promoted in League One. They're favourites for the title, Russell Martin's team, and it's a disappointing 1-1 game away from home, first league game. It's 1-1. It's the same as last season, 1-1 away from home last season, and a moment where his philosophy, 2 or 3 moments been highlighted, but his philosophy of constantly passing the ball, always moving the ball to feet, nearly gets his goalkeeper scoring an own goal. His centre halves are getting caught out in possession all the time by an opposition team playing at their home ground who are just getting steamed in and have got nothing to lose. It's Meadow Lane, it's Notts County, what history they've got. So at this point, he's a very tetchy, overly defensive post-match interview as well. He's thrown back the curtains of his hairdo. Russell Martin trying to act, I'm not bothered, while also getting really bitter at any suggestion that it's a total failure of his. Now, we'll get better as the season goes on. We're going to sell certain players if they're not interested in that, but they want to move on, that's absolutely fine. But the players we've got here, we're going to get more players in, it's going to be absolutely fine. It's totally, shut up, it's absolutely fine. It was very reminiscent of this time last season, but at this point, on the early hours of Sunday morning, basically Saturday night there, Russell Martin had still had a better start to his season, or his time at Rangers at this time of the season than Derek McInnes had. He hadn't had a win against top flight opposition though. He'd won 2 European Champions League qualifying games, but he hadn't beaten top flight Scottish opposition. And then when I eventually got out my kip on Sunday, I didn't realise the Clyde Tunnel was going to be shut, so I'm taking my time going to the game, setting off for the game. I was watching on Premier Sport. Was it this football social club or something? It's basically a Zoom call type scenario they've got. It's like a podcast. And you've got, sitting in their houses, the 3 guys on screen on a podcast, and it's Michael Stewart. He's at home and he's wearing a kind of green casual t-shirt, and then Alan Hutton he's at home and he's wearing a kind of green casual t-shirt, and also on his laptop is Daryl Curry, the host, and he's not wearing green. But in the background, next to a Jack Vetriano print, he's got the Tamara de Olympica's young girl with gloves, which is very, very green. I used to have a big print of, the green turban in our flat that we had in the West End when I first moved in. It was big. I love a bit of Tamara de Olympica, and I thought I should have known. That was a sign. That was a sign that we were going to get Celtic. We're going to draw after we beat St Mirren. We're going to draw Celtic. When is the last time Rangers had an away tie in the domestic cups? When's the last time we drew somebody away from? Obviously, once it gets to the semi-final stage, you go to Hampden. It's March 2024. It's 3 seasons ago. Just keep playing teams at home. Keep drawing, and that's great. It's great. Oh, fantastic. For years, it felt like we never get drawn, and certainly Celtic, as I was growing up, getting Celtic in the domestic cups outside Hampden or outside the semi-final stage, finals really, you always got them in the final. It was a really rare thing. It was something for my dad's generation, my uncle's generation, getting Celtic in the earlier rounds of any cup competition, and then we started getting them a lot. It was Ibrox getting used for a semi-final because Parkhead and Hampden were both getting redeveloped in the 90s, and then we actually got them at Ibrox, I think, in the 90s, and with the 2 each draw, Bruni getting in, El Hadj Diouf's face showing how classy he was as Rangers won the league and the League Cup that season, beating Celtic in the final of the League Cup. But remember that game, the 2 each game, and it went to a replay that we lost. That was, and then we're Celtic at Parkhead. We kept going to Parkhead in the cups recently. It's been Celtic at Ibrox is happening quite a lot. During COVID season, we had them in the Scottish Cup at Ibrox, and it's the worst possible time to get them because it's following hard upon the mini Riot we had last season at Ibrox in the Scottish Cup, and as far as I'm concerned, the authorities should take this as an excuse just to ban Celtic fans altogether from Ibrox. Just don't give them a little bit. But then the following week we're playing them at Parkhead. This thing's going on with the tickets. I do think, without trying to be in any way incendiary or try to rabble rouse and all that, I think it's a bit dodgy. I think we've got to watch, because Celtic fans will not get the 8,000 ticket allocation, which they invaded. They basically broke into the Brimlin. It was a health and safety nightmare. Oh, that sounds a bit boring, health and safety. Folks' lives were in danger. And plus, this is while, ironically, sickly Celtic fans are in the act of, Celtic fans at Ibrox that day, of singing songs celebrating the Ibrox disaster. It was nasty. There's a bitter taste. I think Celtic need to let us win this game, so there's no Rangers fans don't feel the need to invade the pitch. But if there's fewer Celtic fans at this game, and then we start getting a doing of Celtic, I think it's going to lead to, it could be time for revenge in the stands or whatever. I'm sorry. I don't mean this in a kind of, you better know when or let's everybody. But it's the last thing on earth I want to see, and that's what I'm saying. I think it's too soon. After the way things ended last season, I don't know what else you can do, but you think the authorities would take the excuse to ban the away fans, or maybe they'll just ban Broxy. Maybe they'll just ban Broxy Bear. I'm only the 20th Rangers fan to say that on a podcast in the last 5 minutes. It's a really easy joke, but it's also very true. That report citing Broxy Bear for incitement, I'm imagining it said lots and lots of stuff about Celtic fans inciting and invading the pitch and all that, but I am probably just reading it. I'll only see that. I've not read the report, so I really shouldn't comment on it. I'm just taking the bits that suit my bitter agenda. But it's just costing a lot of money, isn't it? Constantly having to fork out. I don't go to away games, you see. If you're going home and away, it makes no difference, but my God, it's just doof, Jagiellonia, doof, Jablonec, doof, Celtic at St Mirren, but it's a lot. These are only on the season ticket. There's only league games that are on the season ticket, and we don't seem to be playing league games at Ibrox. We've only had one so far this season. It's nearly September, but it's quite a thing. We've got Celtic for Derek McInnes. I think it's his chance to do like Steven Gerrard did in 2018-19 in terms of the fact that we had not beaten Celtic in the league in either of any of the 4 derbies in each of the 2 previous seasons. 8 times in the trot we'd failed to beat Celtic in a league derby. Derek McInnes can now do that with Old Firm Cup derbies, because we beat them in 2022 Scottish Cup semi-final under Gio on our way to winning the Scottish Cup. But oh my God, it's been horrific since then. What we did, Michael Beale losing to Andrews Celtic in the Scottish Cup semi-final after losing to them in the League Cup final. With dodgy losses under Clermont, the Scottish Cup final in 2024, with the goal that we scored just after early in the second half ruled out for really dodgy reasons, and of course the penalty we didn't get in the League Cup final, which we lost on penalties the following season, and then we had losing to them in the League Cup semi-final last season, and then the Scottish Cup game at Ibrox, which we lost as well. We need a win against Celtic in the cup competitions, and maybe it's going to inspire an absolute doing for us the following week in the league game at Parkhead. But it means that Derek McInnes' first Old Firm game has been said long and weary since Sunday will not be at Parkhead. He's not going back there. Lawrence Shankler isn't going back there. Feeling like they did as the last time they were there, it was as Hearts players losing the title at Parkhead and the pitch getting fucking invaded by Celtic supporters again. Somebody needs to do something about that mob. I know it's not all Celtic fans. I know it's just there's overexcitables in every support. But the best way to do something about it is by getting them beat in that particular game. Ross County and Stenhousemuir were in the same draw. We ended up getting Celtic. It's definitely it's proof positive that the sponsors, the authorities, it's no longer the league. There's no Scottish league anymore because Scottish football had to reorganise itself and Rangers went into the bottom tier in 2012. But it still seems to be the hot and cold balls thing to make sure that Rangers and Celtic would get each other in the final, because you had a 74,000 or even up to 140 odd thousand Hampden capacity to be filled with ticket sales for the final. That's not the case anymore. 52,000 capacity at Hampden. They can draw each other anytime they like, and we seem to draw each other all the time. I'm looking forward to it in kind of analytical terms. I'm genuinely interested to see by that point in time the middle of next month. Was it the 13th? We're playing them on the Sunday. What we're at. And we'll have them the following week at Parkhead. We'll definitely know what we're all about. It's another double header. What kind of stage Derek McInnes has got Rangers at, and that's a great way to find out. I watched the St Mirren game back on Sunday there. I thought Ryan Naderi was absolutely great. He's got a bit of slagging. He's not good enough. He's not what we want. And we definitely want to get more strikers in today. But he wins 2 corners off the right-hand side in the first 4 minutes. In the 9th minute, he's setting up his own goal. Basically, he's winning the header in the middle of the park. He's flicking it on to Gassama. Bit of luck involving the St Mirren defender mucking up in the way the ball spins from the goalkeeper. But Naderi's in there, and it's an untidy finish. But he's moving his thigh to make sure the thing goes in. He's scored, basically. He's scored a goal, and he sets up Penrice for a goal in the second half as well. His physicality, his movement, gets cleaned out by the St Mirren goalkeeper about 25 minutes into the game. You know, he's down in the deck getting treatment. He's punched in the coupon. You know, it's fair enough. It was I remember at the time thinking, I wonder if that's kind of dodgy, but it was a fair challenge for the ball because he's totally concentrating on the ball like a good striker should, and the keeper gets there first. But I thought he was great. The only mistake in approaching out a mistake I could see Ryan Naderi making that game was about half an hour into the game. There's a long ball forward from Dujon Sterling, which gets in behind Alex Gogic of St Mirren, and Naderi gets there first. And it's away over at the edge of the box, at the very edge of the 18-yard box, and Gogic comes in and kind of ushers him, you know, to the point where Naderi puts the ball out for a by kick. But he still did well. It was a good run he's made, and he was offering himself all the time. A couple of times he should have been played in by JD Gassama, and he's coming deep and winning aerial headers and stuff. I thought he was great, Ryan Naderi. I don't understand the abuse he was taking. That's Derek McInnes did not go out of 2 competitions in successive games, as I was doom-mongering. That was the possibility on Sunday there. The last 3 games at Ibrox under Derek McInnes have been a loss, a draw, and then a win. So that's clearly a sign of steady improvement. And when Dragojevic scored his goal, his cracking goal to make it 2-0, that's the first time Rangers had scored 2 goals under Derek McInnes. First time they scored anything other than 1 goal under Derek McInnes this season. He's getting everybody up. He's telling the players, get up there and join in the celebration. He's a bit of team bonding. He's wearing the Walter cardigan or sleeveless sweater, whatever you call it. You're thinking it's a bit of egomania there. Derek's got, he's going to go for I am. Reincarnation of Walter Smith. That is his gaffer. He's all gaffer at Rangers, but I don't think it is. What else are you going to wear with a suit? What else are you going to wear? We're the man that he wears a suit and the brogues. Well, you can't wear a gilet or a cheapo training jersey or training anorak somewhere. You've got to wear something appropriate. You know, if you're feeling it a bit parky. It was roasting on Sunday. I don't know why he was doing it. But there, he was wearing the Walter cardigan, so that was all very nice. Penrice and Gas, we saw them, Penrice and JD Gassama, new teammates, seeing them having a wee chat with each other before the game. I'm watching it back in Premier Sports, the build up to the game, where they're out in the park, kind of warming up, they have a wee chat with each other, and then cut to the end of the game, and they're having a laugh with each other, giving, no, you're the man, no, you're the man, no, you're brilliant, no, you were brilliant, because they've played each other in. Penrice has got a goal. Gas has set him up for it, and Penrice has set Gas up for a goal. It's fantastic. I mean, Naderi did set up, he actually got the assist for Penrice's goal, but Gassama was playing a wee ball into the box. They had a great combination, a great understanding, an instant understanding, and it was really nice to see. I think Yokota was solid. He was getting slagged by a few people in the last few days, but he set up Uncle Vanya's goal by putting himself in there. From a high ball, not a very big player, Yokota, but he's got the big old heart there, and he went in and he set up. I thought he did really well. Obviously exhausted from the game he played the other nights. The thing I was saying about the bad dialogue, so the reason I was talking about the bad dialogue at the start of the pod, in Heat, the movie Heat's on at 9 o'clock tonight. You must watch it if you're not going to the game, or you must record it. It's on till 12 in the morning, so it's obviously the Heat lasts for 1 hour, 70 minutes. There's adverts there. I know, there's adverts. That'll ruin the flow. If you've never seen it before, it's the proper full-length version. It's Michael Mann's got his name on it. It's not the Alan Smithy that they used to do when the director wasn't happy with the cut that was being broadcast. So, but the reason I was talking about the bad dialogue there is if you don't see Heat and you do want to see something with bad dialogue, rewatch the Premier Sports coverage of Rangers' game against St Mirren on Sunday and watch the first 7 minutes of the second half. And Michael Stewart's it's unbelievable. Everything Rangers touch is shit. Everything Rangers are doing is shit. He starts off with this kind of like, drunk arsehole, everything's suspicious. I know something that you don't. I'm just going to point out something. There must be something going on there. You can't get back. Why is Yokota no come out for the second half? Why is Finlay Curtis? I couldn't see a problem with Yokota. Why is Finlay Curtis coming out for the second half? We'd all watched him run himself into the ground, Yokota against Jagiellonia, and we knew exactly why he'd gone off at half time. But this, why is he kind of doing? And then it was St Mirren are controlling this. St Mirren are controlling what Rangers do. They're playing through Rangers so easily. Rangers are just reacting to stuff all the time. They can't. And Rory Hamilton's trying to say, well, they've had 3 different managers in this space. That's because everything's terrible. They keep having to replace managers because everything's terrible. And they've spent about £60 million. Yeah, and it's no working. They've got 28, 29 new players and it's still no working. It's still, everything's a disaster. I mean, it's like everything we did well was only a temporary relief of the shite. And everything we did badly was proof that it's shite at Rangers. And then we go 52 minutes, we go 3-1 up. 54 minutes, we go 4-1 up, and it was kind of, at first it was, and that's St Mirren, but they're just pushing too far forward there. It was absolutely hilarious, but it got pretty dark, and Michael Stewart was not alone in this, and that's a horrific pun, I've just realised, because I'm going to talk about racism. But the treatment of Manny Fernandez, Emmanuel Fernandez, Rangers centre-half, is having a bad season so far, a bad start to the season. He's played under 3 different managers in the space of a year. He's 24, isn't he young anymore, and I listen to Johnny McFarlane on Rangers Review, which Rangers Review is a mainstream news organisation. It is Rangers supporters that are on it, and it's an invaluable news source. No doubt there's genuine affection for Rangers amongst these guys, but they're getting paid. They get paid holidays and stuff like that. This is, they're driving traffic. They've got to drive traffic. And head of news, Johnny McFarlane, frequently comes on. Really knowledgeable guy. He's got really good opinions. He speaks from a base of knowledge, but every now and then you can see him just trying to ramp it up, just trying to, let's get controversial, let's get busy, let's get energetic, let's get a dynamic pod out there and drive the traffic, because I've been told by my bosses that's what I've got to do to get the advertising in. That was horrendous, the diatribe he went on against Manny Fernandez. It's one of the most basic and horrific tropes in racism, especially in the States, that black people are lazy. It's just one of the things you don't say. It's like, it's anybody of a different race to yourself. You don't say that the two people, that they've got clothes, they actually look a lot like such and such, another person of the same different race. You don't do that. Because and I think it's a place of genuine ignorance. I'm not saying for 1 second that certainly not Johnny McFarlane and certainly not Michael, we don't know what the Slavia Prague player was saying to Kamara Stewart. I'm not saying for a second they're in any way racist, but continually hammering a young black man for being lazy and citing his body language as evidence is fucking disgusting. Dangerous, and I can understand maybe it's a bit too subtle for certain people as to why that's racist. But papers have been written about this. It's one of the laziest, easiest tropes, and basically white supremacy, right down to white privilege in the States, especially trying to, ameliorate their guilt for the slave trade and what have you. Describe black people, and I mean the Nazis did this with the Jews and all that. You just basically throw the things that you don't like about yourself onto another ethnic group. It's horrific, backward stuff. But adults know not to do it. They know not to do it, and it's not criticism of Manny Fernandez. It's become vindictive. I think Johnny McFarlane eventually said, I'm getting angry with it because I think you need to have a word with a young man who's clear. Was it wasted talent he was describing him as? He's not playing well. We have no idea about his motivations. We have no idea why he's not playing well. There could be, apart from anything else, the hate you get at Ibrox if you make a single mistake. Lawrence Shankland's already experienced it for missing a sitter or no laying the ball off in the game against Jagiellonia, missing a bit of a sitter on Sunday, bit of abuse. And how much more could he tell everybody that he loves Rangers to his very core? And yet he's getting abuse when he makes a mistake. It happens to everybody, but Lawrence Shankland's born and bred. He knows what it's all about and all that. Manny Fernandez, it's been pretty traumatic. I mean, there's protests and all that going on this time last year against the Rangers manager. There was posters, banners going up a bit later on with the CEO and the director of football's heads in crosshairs, rifle crosshairs. You know what I mean? It's like, we're aiming at you now, we want you gone. And what way do you want them gone? So Manny Fernandez, a young guy from from England. It might be a bit of a culture shock to him. It might be totally arrogant. This is what gets me. It seems to be there's more sales, there's more views, there's more likes involved. If you can make it particularly personal, it's vindictive. It's been characterised as there's no one challenging him for his centre half because Ben Godfrey got injured, so there's nobody challenging him for the centre half spot. And John Souttar's out the picture. So even Pander's saving penalties the other day. Nobody's challenging him for the goalkeeper spot. He's not just letting the second take of that penalty roll onto the back of the net because he's thinking, I quit, nobody's going to take my spot. Players still try, despite sometimes having your place guaranteed is what you need to relax and actually get into a flow. But the stuff with Manny Fernandez is that he thinks he's going to get a big move because I was interested in him from big clubs last season. That's why he's playing shit this season, because he's not trying. If he thinks he's so much better than Rangers and he's so in love with himself in an arrogant way that because he's going to get a move to the Bundesliga or whatever, he's not going to risk that. He's not going to undermine the possibility of that happening by playing shit for the Rangers first team in Europe and in the league in games that are covered live on television. He's not going to do that. You don't get to his level of football by being lazy. He may be feeling hurt that he didn't perhaps get the captaincy this season, particularly on Sunday when it was Nico Raskin, who does want away from the club or who is probably going to leave the club. He gets the captaincy when Lawrence Shankland is benched, or maybe he hates the fact that Shankland comes in the summertime and gets a kit. Maybe that is bothering him. But I don't think it's no laziness. He's no sharp. He's no quick enough when it comes to certain tackles. But he's misjudging them. He has played in, as the manager says, at least three different defensive formations already this season. He's played on. This is Derek McInnes's third manager in the year that he's been at Rangers. And things are it's far from the only player. McCann made a couple of basic mistakes in that game the other day, but we're in a narrative that we love him. There's a point where he makes one of the early mistakes in the game against St Mirren the other day, Fernandez, and Dujon Sterling is trying to cover for it. He goes sliding in, kind of goes slightly off the park. It's a corner to St Mirren, and he gets up, Dujon, and looks at the Copeland Road as if to say, "What are you fucking? Calm down. It's abuse. It's just abuse." And that's the Rangers support. I don't think there's anything racist there. The Rangers, but it's just like if a player's not playing well for us, we just go mental. But it starts becoming a bee in our bonnet. We get fixated on it. Fernandez is consistently making mistakes, but like Sir Brian, who gets in touch with this podcast all the time, he's over in the States and he's saying Corinthian casuals were supposed to be in for Fernandez, but they pulled out of the deal because he's too casual for them. That's what we do. Have a laugh about it. That's good stuff. That's how you criticise something. That's how you point out somebody's having a bad game. But this stuff going on where Michael Stewart is salivating. It was the penalty that he gave away. Lazy defending. It's this lazy trope the whole fucking time. It's awful. It's cringeworthy. He's 2 seconds away from saying he probably likes urban music or something like that. It's awful. And there was a point where, and Michael Stewart didn't mention this at the time. I sat and watched it as well in the build-up to the game. Before the game, there's a wee huddle, for want of a better phrase, but that's what it is, that the players go into with one of the coaches to go over a few tactical points. So they're holding up a clipboard, and the players are all gathered round, and Manny Fernandez is outside the outside circle. But it's because he's one of the tallest players, if not the tallest player we've got. I dare say I'm not even 6'2", but I'm just over 6 foot. And I find there's times in life where I've got to kind of go to the back of a hall or go to the back of a crowd or whatever, the back of a terrace, because there's folk that aren't as tall as me, and they're not going to be able to see anything if I'm stood in front of them. So he's going to the back, but he seems to come away early from the crowd as they're getting tactical instruction. But I think some of the other players do as well. The coach is probably just going through, strikers do this, defenders do that, blah, blah, blah. And maybe Manny his confidence is going because he's making mistakes in so many games this season. He's maybe needing to get into his own headspace and not get worked up. We see Nico Raskin try to talk to him, and he's kind of maybe he's in a huff with Nico or something. Who knows? We don't know his motivation, but it's every chance he's trying to get in his own headspace and get the concentration set and try not to get himself worked up because he knows he's going to get dog's abuse from the media as well as his own support. If he makes another mistake, it's Alfredo Morelos all over again. He's crazy, he's loco. That was fucking racist. Well, Scott Brown's running about kicking prone Hamilton Accy players in the head. He's a character. He gives 100%, doesn't he, Bruni? It's total racism. Genuine ignorance. I don't think people know. It's probably they need to have a look into that stuff and need to leave off him. The guy's not playing well. He might get dropped tonight. He might be getting sold. He might have his eyes going elsewhere. But the way we're talking about him it's got to stop. Big few days for the SFA. Sebastian Pocognoli becomes the manager on Sunday. Refusing on Monday to back Infantino. Ian Maxwell. I wonder if I can make it a treble and ban Celtic fans for the League Cup game. I'm not going to go on too much about Jablonec or the Conference League, because I'll save that for the actual post-match reaction pod, because it's too late in the day for that. But my God, I wanted to go on about that so much. The Conference League, you've got 4 Scottish teams in the playoffs of the Conference League. You've got 1 Scottish team in the playoff for the Champions League. That basically that explains it. That explains what kind of level we're at. It's been won by Roma, West Ham, Olympiacos, Chelsea, Crystal Palace. It was brought in by UEFA in 2021. It had been planned for a few years before that. It was basically, the working title was basically the second division of the Europa League. It was brought in to give the clubs in the smaller UEFA associations, the less successful UEFA member nations, a chance to do something in Europe. The only time it's worked then is when Olympiacos won it, the first Greek side ever to win a European trophy, only the second Greek side to get to a European final. They won the third edition in 2024. When Chelsea won it in 2025, didn't they? And Crystal Palace won it last season. Olympiacos won it. That's probably the one time that Olympiacos team that we went to there and we drew with them the following season. There was a great Olympiacos side, but they won it in Athens. So that was that gave them a wee helping hand. They won it at AEK Athens ground, James Penrice. AEK Athens Conference League. It's meant to happen. Crystal Palace are the holders. They beat Rayo Vallecano in the final last season, and in Leipzig. It's a London club, and the London club were holders of the Cup Winners' Cup when we won it the following season. The only time we won a European trophy was a London club who won it the previous season. Chelsea, 1971, won the Cup Winners' Cup, and it had been won 3 times by that point by London club. Spurs won the Cup Winners' Cup. It's Cup Winners' Cup we played in the first final, 1961, and Spurs won it in 63. West Ham won it in 65. Okay, Man City won it in 1970, but just keep it London to keep this coincidence working. 3 London clubs had won the Cup Winners' Cup. Rangers won it the following season. 3 London clubs. West Ham won the second Conference League in 2023. Chelsea won it in 2025, and Crystal Palace won it in 2026. Time for Rangers to win the Conference League. Jablonec, they play in green, which is the livery of the once you get through to the group stage proper in the Conference League. So that's somehow, I feel as if that's quite a coincidence. It's Celtic played the first ever Conference League. Only Hearts and Aberdeen, I think, have both twice qualified for the Conference League. None of them for the group stages. None of them have got out of the group stage. And this is the group stage when it was a 4-team groups, and then before they changed the Swiss system of the 36-team group. But so there's a chance for Rangers to become the first Scottish team to get out of the group stages of the Conference League in the knockouts. We've got 3 other Scottish clubs playing in the playoffs tonight as well. You could end up maybe the first ever all-Scottish tie in European football could be played in the Conference League this season. We could end up getting Hibs, the quarterfinals of the Conference League. I mean, I know you get Milan playing Juventus in the Champions League final. Man City, Man United playing Chelsea, and Liverpool playing Spurs, and Borussia Dortmund playing Bayern Munich, and Valencia playing Real Madrid, and Real Madrid playing Atletico Madrid twice in the Champions League. We could go through all the same nation and meeting each other in the final of the Champions League. It's not as glamorous as what I'm trying to say, but it's a European competition, and it's very, very, very interesting as far as I'm concerned. Please don't ruin this kind of historical moment. Rangers a chance to see Rangers, who's going to be the first ever Rangers scorer in the Conference League. I hope we see a few of them tonight, but don't ruin this historic moment, Rangers, because we don't do very well, do we, in trophies and competitions that we think we're too good for. Chesterfield doing us in the Anglo-Scottish Cup took us 4 goes before we eventually won the Challenge Cup, the Petrofac Training Cup, whatever it was called at the time. So let's no turn our nose up at this. I think it's something we need. a wee run in Europe, and there's a chance you could go the way and actually win the thing. I don't think you're going to, because what happens with the difference in the Champions League, as I say, we've got 4 Scottish teams in the playoffs for the Europa League. There is only one team from each of the 5 biggest European leagues, the big 5 leagues. There's only one club from each of them. And no one qualifies directly for the group stage for the Conference League. So they're all in the playoffs, but there are no clubs from the top 5 leagues in Europe in the playoffs for the Europa League. So none of them are going to drop it down into the losers of the Europa League playoff round. They go straight into the Conference League group stage. But there's none of them for that. So it's only the most, if they all win their playoff ties, the most you will have from the top 5 leagues. It's Monaco of Ligue 1 in France, Freiburg from the Bundesliga. You get in Germany, Brighton Hove Albion for the English Premier League, Atalanta from Serie A in Italy, and Getafe from Spain's Liga, from La Liga in Spain, Getafe. So that is your lot. They're on the playoff round. If they all go through, they're the only representatives of those big countries. So the thing you've got a chance there to, you're not going to get scalped twice, but you will though. That's the problem. You only play 3 group games at home and 3 group games away, as opposed to 4 home and 4 away in the Europa League and the Champions League. In the Conference League, you only get 6 group games altogether. So maybe the fact that this rule applies, you can't play teams from your own country in the group stage, and you can't play a team from more than one team from any association. So you could end up you can play, there's 2 Dutch teams, but Ajax are probably going to get through. 20 have got a chance of going through. You could end up playing one of them at home, one of them away, but you maybe want to be able to get the fact that there'll be lots of teams in the Europa League, get more teams from France and Germany, the big leagues. This maybe means you could end up getting Monaco, Freiburg, Brighton Hove Albion, Atalanta and Getafe, as well as maybe Ajax. It's just, oh Christ, the worst group possible. You're going to get pumped. I think the seeding will take care of that, make sure it's not an issue. But it could be really interesting. You can get Larne or Shamrock Rovers, 2 very interesting games for very different reasons that are kind of the same reason as well. Borac Banja Luka from the Republic Srpska, which they're playing the Bosnian League, but there's nothing Bosnian about them. They are anti-Bosnian. A semi-autonomous area, Republic Srpska in Bosnia, and if anybody wants to go in there and tell them they're not totally autonomous, good luck to you. But I saw them playing maybe last season or the season before. I saw some of their highlights on telly. Borac Banja Luka, it's crazy. It's absolutely nuts, and that's interested in seeing how we'd go on against one of them. You get the really boring option, which is Braga again. But the first couple of times we played Braga, it was sensational both times, and they're a European finalist. No, they reached the second ever Europa League final, so I was happy to get them off the list. But I'm done with Braga now. I don't want to be seeing them 4 times in the 2020s. Really, and they would beat Austria Vienna as well. They're playing Austria Vienna, who are one of the loveliest clubs. Now, I've been in their ground, but I've never seen Austria Vienna live. My dream, I remember going to the Franz Horst Stadium. This is like the year 2000, quarter of a century ago, and it was a misty Saturday morning. It was a day I was leaving, and I'm looking around and thinking, if Rangers play here, Rangers come into Favourite, I've got to be here. And if we did get there, there's no way I would get a ticket, so I'd like to get the 1978 European Cup Runners-Cup runners-up. I would like to get them at Ibrox. I'd like them to beat Braga as well. I shouldn't do this. Because I was going through all the teams that I wanted to get in the Europa League group stage, and we went out of this. I am tempting fate here. But yeah, it's lots of really interesting. I mean, Hajduk Split, and they never won a European trophy, never reached a European final, but they're really interesting. There's been the Czechs were played. Czechs in Europe, Borac Banja Luka, that's a team for Srpska. This is what happened. I'm getting more tired, but I'm having to speed it up because I know I'm going on too long. We're past the hour mark. Right, Jablonec, 1945. They were formed in 1945. Oh my God, that's always bad. No, because it usually means it's the Soviet Union have taken over, or the communists have taken over power by the Soviet Union in post-Second World War. Eastern Europe, lots of teams getting this, but because that's also Stirling Albion. We had it here as well. Stirling Albion, Kings Park, died in 1945, the original league team from Stirling, and they were replaced by Stirling Albion, who they got the Luftwaffe hit the original Fourth Bank, which is now, I think it's the motorway, kind of wee bridge, wee road going through, the main road going through Stirling. I found the exact location. I've been anyway. They reformed, or 1945 was when Stirling Albion got formed, and then when 1953 the War Office or whatever got round to paying out the compensation for Fourth Bank, it went to the guy who owned Stirling Albion, and he was already building Anfield, the Stirling Albion new ground, which is now an old folks' home anyway. But Stirling Albion, we played them 4 times in the league, into the third division in 2012, 2013, and we won once. We won one of those games. So that's always 1945's always. But it was 10 name changes I've had since then. Say Jablonec, they didn't get into it. Was 30 years before they got into the Czechoslovakian, as it was then, top flight. They were only there for a couple of seasons, back into the lower leagues. Then they come back up in the 90s, I think, after the velvet divorce between the Czechs and the Slovaks. It's now the Czech top flight. And they've won the cup twice. Their best ever finish was in the league was second. They finished second once in the league. Their ground holds less than 6,000 people way up in the north of Czechia there. They've got a modest European history, which is probably a great European history for a club of their size, but they've got a better history than us in the Conference League, because the only time they've ever reached, they started qualifying late 90s. I think they won the Czech Cup in the late 90s, then the 2010, 2010s. The 2 times they've won that. They've never been champions of Czechia, but they've been qualifying solidly for Europe since the late 1990s. They've only once, though, get through the qualifiers, actually got into a group stage, and that was the very first season of the Conference League in 2021, 2022. They finished third. There's no tournament for them to drop into under the Conference League, but I think they drew 3 games, won 1, only lost 2. It's very respectable, their record there, so they know what they're doing. In the previous round, the third qualifying round in the Conference League, where we were getting pumped out the Europa League, they beat RFS of Riga in Latvia, who were formed in 2016. And in the round before that, they beat Varaždin of Croatia, who were formed in 2012. Shut up, Celtic fans. So now they're playing a team that's really, really old, formed in 1872, and not a day later. They won both their home legs 2-0, so we need a 3-0 home win tonight, please, Rangers. They lost 3-2 in Croatia, and they won 2-1. They won both legs, home and away, against RFS. Now, Varaždin of Croatia, a very new club, but they finished third, I think, last season in Croatia. Quite a decent level. Jablonec, FK Jablonec, know what they're doing. They finished 5th last season, the Czech top flight, and the last I checked, they were 2nd this season, despite already having taken their game off. They didn't play. I think they're playing Baník Ostrava this weekend in the Czech League. They're certainly due to, but didn't play last weekend in between the 2 games against RFS. In the Conference League third qualifying round, so maybe they'll be fresher tonight, but we'll be sharper next week. I'm just quite happy Rangers are playing. We took anyway. We took this weekend. We played this weekend last season. It didn't do us too much good, did it? We get 9 goals put past us over the 2 legs in the Champions League playoffs. But they might be fresher. They'll be ready to go. I say they're second just now, despite having in the Czech League, despite having played 1 game less than everybody else. I think they've won all their previous 3 games in the league. They seem to be a decent level, and we've got a terrible record away from home in Czech. We've never won in Czechia. This will be the 8th tie we've played against a Czech club, and in what's becoming a rarity these days, a rare phenomenon. We can actually say that means we will by the end of this tie have played 16 games against Czech clubs. There's no single meetings, just meeting them once, only at home or only away. We've played, every time we've played a Czech club, it's been a home and away tie. We've had 7 previously. We've played Sparta Prague 3 times, Slavia Prague once, Dukla Prague. The first Czech club we ever played. And the Czechs, it's like we're talking about the Poles of Jagiellonia. Poland finished semi-final stage at 3rd or 4th place. It's about 3 World Cups, I think. The Poles, great footballing nation, but only ever had 1 club in a European final, and they didn't win it. The Czechs have, half of them. It was Czechoslovakia that won the Euros in 1976. I think most of the players in that team were Slovak. But then, as an independent nation, after the velvet divorce, I was there. The final of Euro 96. They got to the final of Euro 96. They got to the final of the Euros against the Germans, and that went all the way. That one didn't go to penalties, but it was golden goal stuff. Silver goal, golden goal stuff at Wembley in 96. So great at international level, but no Czech club has even reached a final of a European competition. Back in the old days, back before European competitions we currently know it, they were always getting to Mitropa Cup finals and always win it and that. But since then, no, the clubs are kind of smaller capacities, even though they have a claim to have the biggest stadium in the world. That's another story. But we nevertheless always have pain. Even if we go through, there's always some sort of horrors or tension involved when we play Czech clubs. Dukla Prague put us out. That's the first. We've played 3 Czechoslovakian clubs. One of them was Inter Bratislava, who are like Slovak. The other 2, it was Czech clubs. So I'm including that just when I say that we've played previously 7 games, 7 ties against Czech clubs. Played Dukla Prague in 82, the 81-82 Cup Winners' Cup. They cuffed us 3-0 in the first leg in Prague and made a risible 2-1 win over them at home in the second leg. Sparta Prague, they put us at the 1991-92. They were still part of Czechoslovakia then. They put us at the early stages of the 91-92 European Cup, and they got through the group stage that season. And do you know who they beat after they beat us to get through to the group stage? Marseille, who we'd play in the first ever night of the Champions League proper the following year. It's all set up somehow. That was Stewart McCall. We lost 1-0 at the Letna, or the Generali Arena as it's now known, in Prague against Sparta in that game. And then we beat them 2-0. We were leading them 2-0, beat them 1-0 over 90 minutes. Stewart McCall scores, and then Stewart McCall scores again. Extra time. We're beaten. This is a pattern that would get repeated. And then they score a disastrous goal. A defensive car crash to get Sparta the vital away goal. They go through in the away goals rule, as was then. This was our last ever game in the European Cup. Slavia Prague. Well, we'll go with Sparta. We played Sparta Prague again in the 2021-22, twice more in the group stages of the Europa League when it was the 4-team. There was only 4-team in the group stages. It was the 2021-2022. We went all the way to the final. We lost 1-0 in Prague in the first meeting in that group. We Sparta Prague. It was the second game of the group, and that was the game where we played Slavia the season before. And because of horrific racism from Sparta fans as well, the ground was only full of kids. It was only kids, and they were all being racist towards Glenn Kamara, who eventually gets sent off. He just couldn't. It was horrific what they did to him. But we beat them 2-0 at home in Giovanni Van Bronckhorst's first game in charge. We had to win 2-0 to go through, and we did go through. We went all the way to the final. Alfie getting the 2 goals there. We got them a couple of seasons later, 2023-2024 Europa League group stage under Philippe Clement, Sparta Prague, and we drew 0-0 in Prague. Great defensive display. A good night. Jack Butland's probably best night for Rangers, and we beat them 2-1 at home in a really tense. It was good. That's a proper ding dong. The 2 home games with Sparta Prague in the Europa League. Slavia Prague, we'd got them in the 2020-2021 Europa League round of 16. Steven Gerrard's just getting us set up basically for the run the following season in his absence. But this is the season we won 55, and we'd sealed 55 a few days before, just 2 or 3 days before the first leg, so we're probably still pissed when we got a great result. No crowd there. 1 each in Eden against Slavia. Great save from Alan McGregor at the end as well, but we played them at home. We lost 2-0. A good football inside, good solid football inside Slavia, but scum, absolute filth. What they did to Glenn Kamara, how they treated him, the guy was absolutely devastated. So they can go and fuck themselves. Victoria Zizkov, we had them in the 2002-2003 UEFA Cup. We lost 2-0. I was in New York at the time. Remember, listening to my hotel in New York, checking the score. We'd lost 2-0 in Prague in the first leg to Victoria Zizkov, and Rangers at that point in time had never recovered a 2-goal deficit. We got them back to Ibrox. I was back in time for that, the second leg, and we go 2-0. We win 2-0 over 90 minutes. Goes into extra time. We go 3-0 up again. We're playing a team for Prague, and they score. And it's on the away goals. We go out, even though Stefan Klos came really close to winning it with a header at a corner in injury time of extra time. And just when I thought next due to play Bohemians of Prague, just so we've got all the major Prague teams under our belts, we end up getting teams from the outlying regions. We get Victoria Pilsen. Last season, cuffed them 3-0, fantastic display in the Champions League third qualifying round at Ibrox in the first leg. Oliver Antman's best game for Rangers, and we only lose 2-1 in the away leg, but Lyle Cameron really did save us with the goal he scored on the night. Victoria Pilsen played us off the park, absolutely pummeled us. It was quite a tense night, and now we've got Jablonec. So, yeah, I'll quickly go over. It's only an hour and 13 minutes, and this will go up at tea time before a game. It kicks off at 7:45. I just need to do it, folks. Sorry, it just needs to get done. I'll try and split the pod up into little set. I'll try and timestamp it so you can pick and choose what you want to hear from. We've signed Kosta Nedeljkovic, Serbian international, only 20 years old. We signed him from Aston Villa on a conditional obligation to buy, which might have something to do with his injury history. Villa signed him at 18 years old 2 years ago for £8 million from Red Star Belgrade, where he's been since he was 8. He's been there for 10 years. He called it his second home, and he's a fantastic interview on Rangers TV. But he's a right back, and he will go in. I would imagine if he's able to get him into the European squad tonight, he'll go straight in to play at right back tonight. It's a problem position for us. Yeah, he's had a few injury problems. Villa loaned him out to RB Leipzig, where he played for 10 months. I mean, that's a good school, RB Leipzig. We're talking Bundesliga, top end of the Bundesliga here. He's done really well there, and then he had a few injury problems. He had a few injury problems, so that's a slight worry. He's described it. At first I was like, oh, we're going to have... He's been raised Red Star through and through, and Dragojevic is Partizan Belgrade through and through, the eternal derby, and now we've got a Croatian in goals. This is going to be bad. This is going to be really bad. But it turns out they're best mates. Turns out Ivan Pander's got to worry, but Dragojevic, you saw him on Rangers TV, just greeting him like a long lost brother. And Nedeljkovic described Dragojevic as the night agent of this move. He's been pushing for the move, obviously recommending Rangers to him, and just trying to do everything he could to help make the move go through. They are best buddies, and that can only be a good thing. He's probably just super relieved that he'll not have to play it right back again, Dragojevic. Oh, thank Christ you're here, man. Good. But a really great interview. We're going to talk about discrimination, positive discrimination. Serbs and Croats, I don't know if it's to do with the language, Serbo-Croat. I know we've all got in the back of our mind the stuff that happened, the horrific stuff that happened in that part of the world in the 1990s. But even at 20 years old, when they're interviewed, they sound like they're... It's just this... Big Dado was the same. I love Dado. It's that kind of, I will die for Rangers. That's so convincing. You get a bit scared. All right, mate, settle down. And he's saying that he's heard the atmosphere is very similar to the atmosphere at the Red Star Stadium. I've never been to the Red Star Stadium. I've never been to Belgrade, but I've heard the atmosphere at the Red Star Stadium on the telly, and that was more frightening than what we got at Ibrox. But we'll try our best for you. Kosta, as we'll be calling from now on, he's going to bring 300%. He feels physically and mentally ready to go. He's had a pre-season with Aston Villa. He played in friendlies with Aston Villa as well. So, and Derek McInnes confirmed this. His fitness is up to speed. He is ready to go, and he says that he likes his game is about speed and getting forward and transitions. And he's like, and also, I mean, I will do defensive stuff as well. I'll do my defensive duties. He's aggressive. He wants to go for it, and I'm looking forward to seeing him play and just touch nail wood regarding the injury stuff. Brighton winger Amario Cortez-Duberry, Amario Cozier-Duberry, apologies. Young English winger from Brighton. I mean, Tony Bloom, obviously with his Hearts connection, the owner at Brighton as well. If he's wanting to sell him to us, I'd be worried. And now there's a chance we could be playing against the Brighton actually directly in the Conference League as well. I think we were bidding about 7 million. They apparently want 10 million for him, and there's a lot more attractive options, I would imagine. To a young Englishman, going to Wolves in the Championship is probably more attractive than going to Rangers. I would think a Rangers team that's not even going to be playing Europa League football, so I don't think that's going to happen, but we are in for wingers. We want wingers for either side, says Derek McInnes. Driouech, who we didn't get from that fell through, the big move for the PSV Eindhoven winger. He's been talking about that, very phlegmatic. He says it's actually happened to him before. You know, he's mentally, he was a Rangers player, and then it's funny, it's weird to be back at PSV. He just get caught, the young man, I think, in a battle between two different medical teams, and funnily enough, it's the selling club's medical team that doesn't think there's a real problem with the injury. So I'm glad Rangers did that. It indicates a kind of a duty of care to the club itself. It's not it's going to take any old kind of player that fits any old bill. We're going to check out and make sure they're okay. So hopefully Nedeljkovic's fitness is fine. I've seen folks saying that's us got too many right backs. But what? Are you actually kidding me? I think Derek McInnes was alluding to this as well. I love Dujon Sterling. Dujon Sterling is now kind of maybe overtaking Ryan Jack to go just behind Kemar Roof in terms of most heartbreaking. The injury record is denying us the most tantalising thing. But Dujon Sterling is a fantastic player in the various positions we play him in. Totally reliable, knows what he's doing. He's just got that kind of class about him. Dujon Sterling, but he's constantly injured. He's got a terror. He'll be the first guy to tell you he's constantly injured. I hope that's it. I hope he's never injured again. But we can't take that chance. And Ross McCrory is only good backup. He's only proved himself so far to be a good backup at right back. And we've spent the entire summer slagging the recruitment team for not signing more players. So now we're getting it's weird. I don't know if it's a Presbyterian thing. We've always got to keep stuff just kind of never happy, just simmering all the time. We've got to find the thing to be unhappy about. But Ross McCausland, it was quite to see him scoring on his return. Like that guy, him out in the left wing, he used to play for Rangers. Do you know he used to play for him that's scoring a goal for Rangers right now? Ross McCausland. So Ross McCausland looking like a good third choice in the wide areas. And Gas is probably a good second choice. That's kind of level we want to be getting at, obviously. And Derek McInnes was kind of confirming this. Finlay Curtis, I don't know what that makes him. He's all over. He's covering for everything. I think Yokota is going to be a good second choice. He's going to be a good backup in the wide right. So I think we're still trying to get another two wingers in there, at least one anyway. Proper quality kind of. Václav Černy's not going to happen, I wouldn't imagine, but that kind of level. And we'll need somebody like that. We will need somebody like that. But we've certainly got plenty of cover. Plenty of options just now. It's maybe Conference League level, but we need to get more in there. But Ivor Pander popped his penalty saving cherry. What a goalie we've got right now. After the kind of nervousness we suffered under Jack Butland for a couple of seasons, it's lovely to have just a solid goalkeeper in there. Derek McInnes in his presser, yesterday's pre-match presser, he was saying that Nedeljkovic is somebody, a player they can work with. They're going to try and improve. He's still young, going to try and improve him and all that, but liked his qualities. We are looking for strikers just now. They're the toughest kind of player to get, and this is the remainder of the transfer window. We need to replace Chermiti. The words were put in his mouth by one of the journalists, but he's saying that we do need to replace Chermiti in a kind of high-end striker, and he wants to go for the best option, not a option. Him and the recruitment team are working hard on getting somebody who specifically suits what he's wanting to do, what Derek McInnes is wanting to do with this Rangers team. The game on Sunday, getting a win under the belt, it took longer than he wanted to get his first win as Rangers manager, 5th attempt, but scored 5 goals in doing so, and it's got everybody feeling positive. He described hilariously Nico Raskin as a flight risk. That is, people have been picking up on that today, but it's quite funny. It's good. We knew Nico was a flight risk because of the World Cup. He went to the World Cup. He was great at the World Cup. So you're thinking he's going to go. People keep asking about Nico Raskin, but he's saying the one thing I'll say about him is he's been a dream to work with since he come back for World Cup. Totally professional, totally focused on playing for Rangers. But he said we'll keep with ear to the ground and all this. He's basically saying he's going to go. It looks like, and listen to what Derek McInnes was saying, it's still more likely than anything else that Nico Raskin will leave before the end of the transfer window. But just as I think this next couple of Thursday nights, this Thursday night, tonight, and next Thursday night, playoff stuff, teams who go out to the playoffs and want to offload somebody to make up for that financially, teams who win their European playoff and need to spend the money they're going to make from the group stage to make sure they don't get hammered in the group stage and want to suddenly get reinforcements in, I think that'll kind of shake some of the fruit loose. We'll get a striker probably from that, maybe a couple of wingers. I think at the same time that will decide somebody that they want, Nico Raskin, and they'll pay what it is we're looking for them. But he's still to go. He's still to leave, but he is going to leave. He's hoping we get the clearance in. I think we'll have the, because he played in Britain. That's the other thing. Kosta Nedeljkovic, one new right back, or Serbian right back, who's played 11 times for the Serbian national team, instead of only 20 years old. He's been at Aston Villa for 2 years, even if he's been going out on loan. his English is very, very good, and he'll know the British game. He knows it inside out. So I'm assuming his registration and all his work permits, that's all sorted. It's just about getting him registered for the European squad. So he was going to get that sorted. What else was Deeks talking about? Manny Fernandez. That was quite an interesting one. A lot of mitigation offered for Emmanuel Fernandez' lack of form just now. The fact that he's had to play in different formations. I mean, we've played like three at the back. He's played with Ben Godfrey. He's played with John Sterling at the back as well. Manny Fernandez. It's been the team's been constantly changing in these competitive matches we're playing. This kind of late summer moment of the season, and also I think he's played under three different managers, but he was also talking about the fact that players need to play into they need to get their own concentration going. A lot of people commenting that they saw Derek McInnes losing the rag with Fernandez when he was making mistakes in Sunday's game. They saw him on the sideline, the manager losing his rag with him. A lot of that was reported by Premier Sports, though, their commentary team, which likes a drama. So I wouldn't completely trust that. But it sounded he could have been trying to play games with the Jablonec coaches. It's half and half whether he's going to drop Emmanuel Fernandez tonight or not, Derek McInnes. But there was a kind of talk about. It might have been he needs to get busy. He needs to start picking himself up. He needs to sort himself out, Fernandez. But it was also here's the reasons why he could be having a bad time of it just now. I don't know if it was a public warning to Fernandez or a public backing. It was quite hard. And the same thing with Lawrence Shankland. It was more decisive. He was asked, "Is Lawrence Shankland is he in the huff basically because he's not getting a start?" He was benched on Sunday, and then when he came on, there's a story doing the rounds about how when he came on, Nico Raskin did not give Shankland the captain's armband, and Raskin played for the whole game. Shankland comes on for the last half hour, didn't he pass on the armband, and he went straight down the tunnel in a huff, and the players got him back out at full time. I saw in Premier Sports Shankland going about having a laugh with everybody at full time. Especially James Penrice, an ex-Jambo who's just had a great debut for Rangers. So I think a bit much has been made of that. But Derek McInnes is very good. He's using some of the journalist names and all that. He's no rising to stuff. And he's saying it's a non-question, but I understand why you're asking it. It's just Lawrence Shankland, the captaincy wasn't that big a deal to me. Somebody's got to be made captain. Lawrence Shankland's a fantastic captain at Hearts, on and off the field. He'll be the same for Rangers. And when it comes to scoring goals, he's no a wee boy. He's not going to stop. He's not going to stop being the goal scorer he's always been in this league. He's going to start scoring goals if he just keeps playing, and he's not going to go away in a huff or anything like that because he's not getting picked. It's going to be fine. It's going to be absolutely fine. And I thought that was tremendous. And Jablonec, he said he was kind of talking about the Jablonec game, saying that he expects he's more concentrating on us. The team they've been spending the last few days working on Jablonec, looking at videos of them and discussing what they're going to do in this game against Jablonec tonight. But he expects it to be a tough game, but he wants it to be tougher for them, which was quite a thing to say. I'll go with I'll do my starting 11. I don't know. Big Tochi Chukwueze. I think we're going to stay with the 4-3-3. I think we'll probably stick with the 4-3-3. But it says basically a kind of 4-2-1-3 at times. Maybe I don't know, but I think we'll stay with much the same formation. I don't think Jablonec are going to come at us the same way St Mirren did with their new progressive style on Sunday, and they'll have watched that St Mirren game. They'll know not to come at us that particular way. I don't know if Chukwueze is better just when it's a kind of end-to-end game and we're pushing forward because he's very mobile. Maybe Asgard's better in terms of getting his foot on the ball and doing delicate, kind of skillful things to break down a more sat-in defence, a more of a low block. But then Asgard's not as good defensively. This is that Chukwueze is providing defensive solidity to that midfield three as well. And also him and Naderi act as like battering rams. The two are big physical units. If they're up for set pieces along with Manny Fernandez, we don't have many better players at bringing the ball out of defence than Manny Fernandez. And and he's fantastic at set pieces. I know he didn't score any goals from set pieces so far this season, really, but he didn't score any on Sunday. But his presence is a reason that the ball comes back out to Driouech for the second goal. His presence in the opposition box. I think we're going to stay. I'm just going to go exactly the same team, except for Nedeljkovic coming in for Dujon Sterling. The manager was also talking about Dujon Sterling's fitness not being the most reliable, and they have to kind of watch how the games he's playing. I I'm going to go with the same team. There's a possibility that Sterling could go to centre half instead of Fernandez to play alongside McCann at centre half, but we have the two new fullbacks. Because we've got the two new fullbacks. Well, James Penrice has been slightly match worn, but he's still new. But I think he's going to stick with Fernandez tonight. It's going to be Fernandez, McCann, Pandor in goals. Fernandez, McCann as your two centre halves. Penrice and Nedeljkovic as your right backs, and that's everything else is just the same as Sunday for me. If Yokota is fit, apparently he's a late fitness test. He's certainly running himself into the ground. It'll be him or Finlay Curtis on the right hand side, I would think. Um, I think you could have Dan Neil coming in. He's a more because Dragojevic did have a few misplaced passes. I think on Sunday. I wouldn't be surprised if Dan Neil come in to replace him, but I'm going to go with Chukwani, Dragojevic, and Nico Raskin in midfield. And I say just it'd be Yokota and Naderi. I'm going to keep. Oh no, I can imagine this is a night for Lawrence Shankland. But no, it's going to be Yokota, Naderi, and Gas on the left hand side. That's what I'll go for. I'll just go the same starting 11 as Sunday, except for Nedeljkovic in at right back. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's those variations in the other areas. Rangers, we've had our first victory under Derek McInnes. We had the first game in which we scored more than a single goal. Let's go for our first clean sheet tonight and win 3-0. I want us to win this game 3-0. That's all I'm going to predict that score because I'm trying to manifest it to make it happen. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's 0-0 either. 3-0 Rangers tonight is my score prediction. Absolutely no one's going to get carried away with Sunday's 5-1 win right now. We're hoping this is just an indication of the fact that we shouldn't get carried away with the previous four results either when we failed to win. Ideally, I'd like another 3 wins, home and away, against Jablonec, and then against Aberdeen at Pittodrie to give us 4 wins on the trot to kind of make up for the 4 failures to win we had in Derek McInnes' first 4 competitive games in charge. And then we go to Falkirk, I think, where we scored 13 goals, 12 goals last season. So it wouldn't surprise me if we then draw 0-0 with Falkirk. We could have another mini crisis, but that feels more like what we should be. We've got back onto an even keel. It just kind of minor setbacks that probably maybe will kill our title challenge early in the season, but now they would signal if you get like 4 wins in a row under our belt just now, any more setbacks would signal it's no more than just a slip up, and we're kind of I don't know, just an even. Just getting ourselves onto an even keel. We're just a kind of forward-going liner. It's not the Titanic. I'm talking Govan built stuff. Getting back on an even keel and just heading in the right direction generally. There's going to be choppy season. You get the metaphor, you get the analogy. But it's this time last season, we weren't losing or winning versus top flight Scottish opposition. It was just draws. We just kept drawing. We had a really nervy 4-2 win at home over Alloa in the stage of the League Cup we're playing on Sunday there, lower league Alloa, and we chose to play our league game in between the 2 legs of the playoff. It was a Champions League playoff this time last season, and we conceded 9 goals across those 2 legs against Bruges to scud Jablonec home and away in the Conference League. Wouldn't make up for that in the Conference League playoffs, but it would act as a kind of cushion. We are a Europa League club just now. To not get in Europa League is a failure. To not get in the Champions League is understandable. The way the whole setup of European football just now and the stage Rangers are at, in another kind of redevelopment. But I think to have a good solid playoff victory, hopefully home and away against Jablonec, would kind of pull us in around that Europa League failure. It just kind of cushion it, to take the horrors of the Champions League. It was just a tournament too far, a stage too far for us. That's fine, even though it was absolutely humiliating at the time. But you get a good to not be progressing in the Europa League this season is a real blow. So get that Conference League playoff win, get us safer into Conference League group stages. Do it tonight, Rangers, and that would help us feel a lot better about things in general. Beat Jablonec at Ibrox, and boom, suddenly we've kind of won, drawn, and lost a game versus Scottish top flight opposition this season, and then we'll have won, drawn, and lost a game against European opposition, there will be a case for saying Derek McInnes has begun with a mixed bag, a perfectly mixed bag of results. We look like, at that point, we look like what we actually should be. When we're really serious about dominating in Scotland for a long time, it requires, as I keep saying, this total rebuild, getting right back down to the foundations, and that's what we just look like. If we've got this complete mixed bag of results, we get ourselves a European win to go along with Sunday's domestic win at this stage in the season. It's a major project on yet another reboot, and that's all we want to see just now. And the European history that I want us to achieve right now would be a second UEFA competition win. You know, a game, winning a second game in European competition out of our last 14 games. Last season, it was basically since we beat a Czech club at home in European competition last season. So we beat Victoria Pilsen 3-0. We've won 1 in our next 13 European games. So let's make that 2 in 14 tonight. And I'm really sorry about this pod, folks. I'm sorry about how late it is. I'm sorry about how long it is. I can't not say what I need to say, and at least I've got it up there. You can pick and choose. I say I will get in there and I'll get it all time stamped and that to have a look at it. But anything that I missed out, stuff I missed out to make it this short, I will put into the post-match reaction after the game tonight. And hopefully you have a fantastic time at Ibrox, folks. Or if you're watching at home, and if you don't, make sure you watch Heat on Film 4. Never get attached to anything you can't walk away from in 30 seconds flat when you know Heat is on the television, or when you know Rangers are playing in Europe.